Chosen one, stop scrolling for a moment. What if the loneliness you've been feeling was never abandonment? What if the silence around you wasn't emptiness, but invitation? And what if the reason people became distant was not because you were forgotten, but because God wanted you to experience a presence that never leaves? Stay with me, because what felt like isolation may have been the most sacred season of your life. Chosen one, listen slowly. There was a season when people became distant, not suddenly, not dramatically, just gradually. Messages slowed down, conversations became shorter, connections that once felt natural began to feel quiet, unfamiliar, distant. And in that silence, something heavy settled inside you. Loneliness. Not just physical loneliness, but emotional space where you expected connection. You wondered what changed. Did you say something wrong? Did you grow apart? Did people simply move on? But heaven says this: you were not abandoned. You were being introduced to a deeper presence. Because as long as your world was filled with constant interaction, you never noticed how much of your strength came from external connection. You leaned on voices, reassurance, familiar energy around you. And there is nothing wrong with connection, but your foundation was being built on people's presence instead of divine presence. So I allowed quiet distance, not rejection, not isolation, but sacred space. Space where external voices softened so internal awareness could awaken. At first, the silence felt uncomfortable. You reached for distraction, for conversation, for anything that filled the emptiness. But nothing replaced what had been removed, because the space was intentional. And slowly, something began to shift. In quiet moments, you started sensing peace that had no visible source, calm that did not depend on anyone being near, strength that appeared even when no one encouraged you. You realized something unexpected. You were not actually alone. There was a presence that remained steady, consistent, unchanging. A presence that did not fluctuate with people's availability, did not withdraw when circumstances shifted, did not depend on attention or communication. God's presence. You began to feel it in stillness, in reflection, in quiet awareness that you were supported even in silence. Loneliness slowly transformed into connection, not outward, but upward. You discovered something powerful. When God becomes your primary source of strength, aloneness becomes peace instead of emptiness. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer fear quiet moments. You no longer depend on external stability, because you carry inner steadiness. That was the purpose of the season, to shift your foundation from people to presence, from noise to awareness, from dependence to connection with something eternal. And now, something has changed within you. You can sit in silence without discomfort. You can move independently without fear. You can feel supported even when no one is around. That is not isolation. That is anchoring. You were never meant to walk this life depending entirely on others to feel secure. You were meant to discover a presence that never leaves. I allowed you to feel alone so you would discover you never truly were. Chosen one, pause and listen carefully. What if the loneliness you fought so hard to escape was actually drawing you closer to something sacred? What if the silence that felt heavy was creating space for a connection deeper than anything you've known? And what if this season of distance from people was not loss, but invitation? Stay with me, because what you thought was emptiness was actually intimacy being formed. Chosen one, we must go deeper now, because loneliness is one of the most misunderstood seasons of spiritual growth. Most people see loneliness as absence of support,
absence of companionship, absence of connection. But true spiritual loneliness is not absence, it is reorientation. It is the shifting of your emotional center from external sources to internal and divine ones. And that shift is never comfortable at first. When people began to grow distant, your nervous system reacted before your understanding caught up. Humans are wired for connection. We seek voices, presence, shared experience. So when those familiar connections soften or disappear, the body interprets it as loss. That is why the loneliness felt physical, not just emotional. A weight in the chest, a quiet ache, a sense of space where warmth once existed. But what felt like loss was actually clearing. Clearing emotional dependency. Clearing constant external stimulation. Clearing noise that prevented deeper awareness. You were not being emptied. You were being made spacious. And spaciousness is required for intimacy with God. You were learning to sit with yourself. Before this season, silence often felt uncomfortable. You filled it quickly with conversation, entertainment, activity, distraction. But when loneliness arrived, distraction lost its power. You could no longer outrun quiet moments. And in those quiet moments, you met yourself, your thoughts, your fears, your hopes, your unprocessed emotions. That confrontation is part of spiritual awakening, because you cannot experience divine presence deeply while avoiding inner awareness. Loneliness slowed everything down enough for you to become present with yourself and with God. The development of inner strength. As the season continued, something subtle began happening. You started enduring silence without panic. You started facing emotions without escape. You started finding calm without needing reassurance. This is inner strength forming. Strength that does not depend on environment. Strength that does not collapse when people withdraw. Strength that remains steady in quiet spaces. This kind of strength cannot be taught externally. It must be experienced internally. And loneliness is one of the most powerful environments for developing it. The development of inner comfort. There was a moment, maybe gradual, maybe sudden, when something changed inside you. Instead of reaching outward for comfort, you began sensing comfort arising within. Peace without explanation. Calm without conversation. Support without visible presence. You began noticing subtle awareness, a feeling of being guided, a sense of being held, a quiet assurance that you were not navigating life alone. This is divine intimacy. It is not dramatic, it is steady. It does not demand attention, it quietly sustains. You began to understand something profound. God's presence is not an idea, it is an experience. And loneliness removed enough distraction for that experience to become noticeable. Why this season was necessary. The next stage of your life requires independence of spirit, not isolation from people, but freedom from emotional dependence on them. You will still connect, still love, still share life with others. But your stability will not depend on their presence. You will carry peace internally. That is maturity of faith. Because relationships will shift throughout life. People will come and go. Circumstances will change. But divine presence remains constant. This season anchored you to what cannot leave. What is happening to you now? Notice the difference in yourself. You no longer fear being alone. You use solitude for clarity. You experience quiet as rest instead of emptiness. You think more clearly, sense more deeply, respond more calmly. Your emotional center has stabilized. This is evidence that the season accomplished its purpose. Loneliness transformed into awareness. Silence transformed into connection. Distance transformed into intimacy. What comes next? This is important. When external connections return, and they will, you will relate differently, not from need, but from wholeness. You will connect by choice, not dependency. Love without losing yourself. Share without seeking validation. Because now your foundation is anchored in something permanent. And relationships built from wholeness are healthier, deeper, and more stable. Closing declaration. Chosen one, you were never abandoned. You were invited into deeper connection. The loneliness that once felt heavy has become the place where strength, clarity, and divine intimacy formed. You discovered something many never experience: presence that does not leave, peace that does not depend, strength that does not fluctuate. And because you found that, you will never truly feel alone again.